Hi, Jeannel King here, and I am answering more questions that came from the Draw Forth the Book Inside of You. There were so many great questions, and we did not have enough time on our 45-minute call to cover them all, so I want to make sure that I do them all justice so you guys get what you were looking for. So this one comes from R, and she is asking about the best visual aid to writing, which makes sense. I'm a graphic facilitator. And so there's an assumption that I would use visual processes to write my book. So let's go over. I didn't have one best visual aid. I have a couple of them that I'd like to share with you, and I'll talk about how I used them. So let's go ahead and oops, let's get my camera set up. Sorry about that. Camera. Do. Technology. All right. Yes. Okay. So, focus on in there. In writing my book, there were a couple of different ways that I brought a visual element or visual aid into writing. One of them was this simple, goofy little from start to finish dude. This is where my reader is now. This is where I would like my reader to be by the end of reading this book that I've been putting together. And I, use that as a visual template to think about, okay, right now they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't want to pick up the pen, but I really need to, but I'm kind of scared and kind of nervous. We fill in all that stuff. And what I would like to transform in that person is, from being nervous to being really confident, or ready to take this on, and he's they're holding that pen. So you list out those things for the person, and now that you know where they're starting from and where they're going to end up, how do they get there? And I did this originally with little post-it notes where I would just do a brain dump of these are all the things that this person would need to know having come from this place. They're going to need a visual language, they're going to need to feel comfortable, they're going to need to bust the jackass myth, they're going to need to blah, blah, blah. And then once I have all those things, I start thinking about them in terms of stepping stones to guide this person across. So maybe this one needs to happen over here, this one has to happen first, this one can't happen until that one happens, this one can't happen until these are in place. And so you just organize them the way they make sense for this arc, and then you can flesh them out even more to start filling out the sections of your book. So if this one is visual language, then you might need to talk about, in my case, I was comparing a visual language to regular language. So there are letters, and what that corresponds with are words, or sentences, or syntax, or accents, etc. And so I have the big piece, which becomes kind of like my chapter or my section, and then these smaller pieces, which help to fill in the content for those sections. And the idea is, as this person goes across this journey, the things that I have on this little bridge, these stepping stones, will get that person where they need to be if they, if they've read all the way through. So that's one, and that's just one that I found myself making up as I was working on the book. Another one, to better understand this person, is identifying a persona. Who is it that I'm actually writing for? And then understanding that person more completely by doing an empathy map, right? So if I know that this person is Mary and she is a VP of sales, I can start doing some demographics, and I can put together like a statement that I think this person would say as to why she would want to read the book. But if I am thinking about Mary and what's going to be of best service to her, then an empathy map allows me to get into her shoes and her head. So would an academic, full-on textbook work for the vice president of sales, who's really busy, who has a family, who has a massive team and is dealing with all sorts of stuff? Or is she going to resist that big tome and need something that's easy to read, easy to engage in? If she's feeling afraid of actually drawing, how does this look of the book need to be to invite her to engage with it? So those were a nice 1-2 punch for understanding who it was that I was writing for. So that's another one. Another thing that I did was, and this is a computer visual aid, so I guess I used it as a visual aid, and it's Keynote. And I would create a slide deck of what I was going to write about, one topic or idea per slide. And what I was able to do with that, I can organize them really easily. I can move things in order. I can pull them out and stick them at the end if I didn't think I wanted to keep them. So this was an easy visual way to organize the essence of my book. And then I could, print it out and tape it up on the wall and work with other people that way. I'm also a huge fan of brain dumping, back up here, brain dumping and Post-its, and then being able to say, oh, I'm really talking about these subjects, and these are the Post-its that go under it, right? So being able to do some clustering and organizing with Post-it, or with sticky notes, I guess. On the wall, because I love doing it on the wall. So I do that. There's also a storyboard that comes in handy. And I didn't do this so much for what I was writing, so much as the experience for this person. So I was storyboarding the reader experience. Because in my world, the experience of a thing is everything. It's so important to me. Can't stand it. So I would think about, again, if they're starting from here, what do I want them to be able to be or do or have? Maybe they have a little gray cloud, and by the time they get here, yay! What's the change? What are the things that are going to have to come into place to get them to this happy place? So I would draw that out for myself too. And when I was actually writing the book, writing those sections, I drew upon Dan Rome's 6x6. So there's you and your problem or subject. And who, what, when, where, how or how much, and why. I would look at the subject through the facets or through the lenses of the 6x6 before writing what needed to go in there. So I would have a better understanding of what it was that I was writing about. So really, we're talking about visual aids. Aids. I can't spell right now. I'm sorry, you guys. Anyway, okay. Those are the visual aids that came into play the most while I was working on this book, and hopefully they're helpful for you. The ones that I really came back to time and again, the one that I came back to time and again was this one. This was my roadmap. This was my guiding star. What was it that I was actually writing? Once I understood this, I could look at this and see that person. Once I had these pieces in place, they kind of fleshed, they can flesh this part out. Same with this. The storyboard reader experience is another way to interpret this. These come into play when I was writing, but what I'm writing needs to support this journey because at the end of the day, the book you're writing is not for you. The book you're writing is for your reader, and you've got to keep them in mind the entire way. Otherwise, you're going to write something that doesn't really meet their needs. So this little dude right here is this is how I write. And I am so grateful for it. I'm grateful for your question. I hope this is helpful. If you have more questions, you know where to reach me, Jeannel at jeannelking.com. And you can always reach me on Twitter, because I do love me some Twitter. It's kind of embarrassing how much I love Twitter. But you can reach me at Jeannel King. All right. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon. Okay, take care. Bye.